there was a fellow that was waiting at a stoplight, and there was a car ahead of him. There was a woman in that car, and he noticed that she kept looking over at the passenger side and thought she was reading something, and then he saw her pick up a few pieces of paper and go through it. You know, what do you do at a stoplight, right? She just sit there and continue, you know, she's reading away. When the light went green, she did not go. And so this fellow, well, he was a wee bit upset. He's like, you know, it's not a suggestion, that green light. It's to go, get going. But he didn't honk at that point, but he sat there and he's waiting, and you know, he's getting a little riled up. The light turns red, and he has to sit through the next light. Well, he's a little irate at this point, and so he's pounding on the steering wheel, and he's yelling, and he's using some fingers and such to the woman ahead, getting very, very angry, when all of a sudden a police officer pulls up with a gun in his hand and taps on the window. Guy rolls his window down. He said, "Certainly, officer, I have the privacy to be able to yell and do these things in my own car." He said, "Well, yes, you do, as a matter of fact. I was sitting behind you thinking, how rude is that guy? Like, he's just awful, making those signs and yelling at that woman. I'm sure she can hear that from his car." And then he said, "You know, I looked at your rear view mirror, and there's a cross hanging from that. And then I looked at the side, and it says, 'Jesus is coming again,' from the bumper sticker. And I saw that sign with the fish on it. So, you know, I knew that you were faithful and you were a Christian. I thought, this guy must have stolen that car." Right? Yeah. Love. That's what we're talking about today, right? Love. Yes, for sure, for sure. My interview is coming in what, four days, I think. Thursday at 2 p.m. will be my last interview with the Antler River Watershed for my ordination. And so at 2 p.m. on Thursday, could you all just pause? Go, oh, I'll think of Sharon. I'll just pause for a moment and just say a wee bit of a prayer that I keep everything together as I go through it. Patience, perseverance, and prayer. That's how we get there, right? All of these things that God is teaching us, and to trust. My trust is that after all these years and all the work, that it will go well. And I trusted when I entered back into this relationship with God, because I had already had the master's in divinity and had been here and had been working over at churches. But there's always that moment that you can learn more, that you take the step back and you trust. You trust that what you're doing is leading to something memorable and meaningful, which for me, I'm hoping that trust and that leads to that ordination at that time. And it is trust. It's having that wee bit of faith, the trust to continue to move forward. Now, we do things that need trust every day. For example, there are thousands. Actually, I thought of that when I was about to say it. I was thinking about this at home. There are thousands and millions that fly on planes. Now there might be tens of hundreds. We're a little restricted right now. But people get on planes all the time. 32,000 feet in the air it takes us. Somehow we get in there. Now that's a belief that that plane will fly. When I stand there looking at it, I could, generally tell you that that plane is going to get off the ground and it is going to fly. I believe that. But if I have faith, what do? I actually buy the ticket. I get on the plane. I put on my seatbelt and I begin to pray. No, that's not faith that this is going to go well, right? But the faith that it will fly, I trust in that. That's something that my beliefs support, but my belief can change. I must admit that I am not the best flyer in the world. I would rather drive anywhere, anytime. I don't trust the planes, but I put my trust in other things. Other things that we trust in this world, other than the flying, there are things that we put our trust into, and it helps us in every day to see that. For example, you're sitting on these chairs. I trust that when you came in, you believed that all of these chairs would hold you. And you actually had faith in it because you are actually sitting down on the chairs, right? That's a trust, and that's faith. Now, Jesus says to us, and the writings today tell us that when you have trust, that you are blessed. And that as you are by the waters, that your roots will go down into the waters. And you're so blessed that you will always bear good fruit. in that trusting. That your leaves will always be green, it says of the tree. That you will always be fortified. That you will be supported in that. There will be more growth. And that's what that is saying in the reading that I said this morning on trust. And so we have that we think, well, if we're there in that trust, does it grow? Now, I believe that trust is faith. And my third word there from faith is love. And of course, love, we're right near Valentine's Day, right? Did anybody go out for Valentine's Day for dinner yet? I mean, Saturday night, anybody head out even? Yeah, there you go. Sure, you went out for Valentine's too. Very nice, awesome. Yeah, Doug's taking me to a big meal today. Yeah. You heard it and I trust in it, yes? Now I've lost my place, I shouldn't have done that. Sorry, Doug, no, yeah. There was a couple that went out for supper and it was for Valentine's Day and the young woman said to the fella, you know, say something to me that'll get my heart racing a wee bit. He said, I forgot my wallet. Yeah. Yeah, that didn't happen on the first date, I bet. And I'm sure you didn't either, Harry. That was good. Yes. What do we trust in? In love. So Valentine's Day, I thought I'd digress, like I ever do that, to St. Valentine. The story of St. Valentine has 2 or 3 stories to go with it. I know a couple of them. The first one is that the Emperor Claudius II had said that when he was getting the men to go to war, that more were willing to go if they were unmarried. And so Claudius II decided that no young men could marry. But St. Valentine, in secret, helped them to be married to their partners. And he was beheaded as a result of it. That's the first story. The second story, and I'm not sure which one is absolutely correct, but the second story says that St. Valentine was helping the Christians to escape. He was helping them to escape from Claudius and from torture and being captured. And so he was put in prison. And when he was in prison, there was a young woman that he would exchange letters with. And the last one, before he was taken and to the guillotine, unfortunately, beheaded, was a letter to his sweetheart. And he said, from your Valentine. And we still do that today, right? We still send out the Valentines, and that's where this comes from. The story of love, of reaching out, and that was St. Valentine. St. Valentine, what do we do with Valentine's Day? When we hand them out, what are they in the shape of? A heart. That's right. And there's not that great of a leap to go from your heart to go to love. And when we look at Galatians, Paul tells us that Jesus was in God's bosom, that he was God's heart, in that heart. And so when we look at the stories, when we look at every piece of the scriptures, we look at the story of Jesus in the New Testament, and we see those stories unfolding. And the love, it's different than what the law was of the Old Testament or of the Torah. There were lots of laws for the Torah, many in Leviticus. If you went through them, you would take a full day trying to get through them and to distinguish for them. As a matter of fact, Bruxy Cavey, that is a name of someone. Bruxy Cavey is the fellow that I've been reading that actually says the end of religion. And he doesn't mean the end of faith. He doesn't mean this. What he means is the end of following the laws. All laws should be leading to love. There was a young man that wrote to this talk show woman, Laura Schlinger. I'm not sure I said her name right, but anyways. And she was using Leviticus 18:22 and 20:13 to argue against gay marriage. And so there was a young man, Kent, that wrote to her and put it up on Facebook and some of the social media, and this letter went viral. Dear Laura, thank you for doing so much to educate people regarding God's law. I have learned a great deal from your show, and I try to share the knowledge with as many people as I can. Someone tries to defend the homosexual lifestyle, for example, I simply go to Leviticus 18:22, end of debate. But then he goes on to look at some of the other laws and rules. And I'm not putting them down, I'm not making fun of them, I'm just saying we have a new covenant in Jesus. It's no longer just a book or a word, it's a person, it's a life, it's an example for us. Some of the other Leviticus ones, and I really thought this might work. I would like to sell my daughter into slavery as sanctioned in Exodus 21:7. In this day and age, what do you think would be a fair price? I'm kidding. Leviticus 25:44 states that I can have slaves, male and female. A friend of mine tells me that I can get them from Mexico, but not Canadians. Honestly, what is this? Yes. Am I morally obligated? I have a neighbor who insists on working on the Sabbath. That might be me. Exodus 35:2 clearly states that we should be put down to death, that person. Am I morally obligated to kill him myself? Leviticus 21:20 states that I may not approach the altar of God if I have a defect in my sight. I have to admit that I wear reading glasses. Does my vision have to be 20/20, or is there a wee bit of wiggle room there? Right? Most of my male friends get their hair trimmed, including the hair around their temples, even though this is expressly forbidden by Leviticus 19:27. How should they die? My goodness. And lastly, and Harry, I was thinking of this as in the laws, and so thank goodness for love. And now in the new covenant, my uncle has a farm, which he does, and that violates Leviticus 19:19 because he's putting different crops in the same field. They're being side by side. Should we just burn them? Should we have a private, burning? What should we do about this? He says, I know that you've studied this extensively. Thank you for reminding me of God's word, which is eternal and unchanging. Here's the thing. We can take the word and we can make it to mean anything. We can sit and take that word and we can edit it to our own way of being for what we want. This Bruxy Katie said, one day my assistant walked into the office while I was bent over my Bible, brushing it with a liquid paper, because he would go in and he would write in the side of his Bible in pen, which he said, I needed to erase and do. But anyways, he's got this liquid paper. He's in his office and his secretary walks in and, she commented to him and said simply, find something you don't like in it? Yeah. What's amazing, I believe, is that when we look at the New Testament, when we look at the New Covenant, when we look at this is the story about a person and a life that we can follow. A life that was focused on love, not the law. It was on love. And he walked with women, and he walked with Samaritans, and he walked with Jews and Gentiles, and he walked with everyone. And that's what our new covenant is about. That faith, that trust, that love, trusting in that love and sharing it with one another. It seems to me at some point, God had written the Old Testament. We were getting all the stories through the prophets. Things were going good and grand. He paused for about 400 years. And then he went, oh, I've got it. Just a minute. I know what I'll do. I'll send him. I'll let him live and I'll show you. I won't just let you read this. Don't just read the word, but it's a person, something that you can live, to love, to be like Jesus out into the world. You see, God is not a noun in which we have to describe and define. As a matter of fact, don't ask me to define. I can't. That's the holy mystery. That's God. But God is a verb, and that verb is love, to reach out to one another in love. And that, my friends, is what takes that faith, takes that hope, takes that promise. And so I was asked about my credo in my questions. Again, thank you to the lay supervision team members that are here that took hours upon hours answering all these questions. And then the second one, towards ordination, they were asking me, well, what might your credo be? And to me, there's really, the credo is love. God is love. The faith is love for us to reach out. It seems really simple, doesn't it? Seems all too simple, but it isn't. Because Jesus didn't just love those who were his friends, those that were the same and similar, because that's easy to do. Those that are similar to me, I can love easily. Those that are doing the same thing as me, it's easy to love. But we are asked to love everyone. Everyone, my friends. Those that are dissimilar to us. Those that are not sitting here with us today. Those that may not even have the like mind. But we are to love those out in the world. And God says to us, how will they know that we are people, not of the book, but the people of love? And that was in the writing today that Nancy was talking about in Matthew, actually, that we reach out to those that are hungry, that are hurt, that are disenfranchised, that are wounded, that are lonely. Everyone, absolutely everyone, is who Jesus reached out to. And in faith and love, and sometimes when we reach out in love and we trust, what happens? We get burned a wee bit sometimes. That's not what we focus on. We focus on the heart. And the heart shows us how to live, how to love, and how to be. This day and forevermore. And in that spirit, happy Valentine's, and God bless.